We'll move on to the third game and go to a couple of 3 o'clock kickoffs. We'll start with Leicester versus Arsenal, which wasn't the choice of myself as the host. It wasn't Adrian's choice as a former Arsenal player. It was Mark O'Hare's choice. So we'll take a look at the betting as we have a matchbook.com and then pass over to Mark's words of wisdom. Leicester 5.1. Arsenal available at 1.75 here. The draw is 4.2. Both teams to score, yes, is available at 1.74. No is 2.3. The Asian handicap line, it's given Leicester a 3/4 of a goal head start at even money, 2.0, and Arsenal at minus 3/4 is 1.94. And the total is 2.5, and that's shaded a good bit towards the over. So yeah, Mark, take it away on Leicester versus Arsenal. Where are you at with Arsenal? Because look, 70, 80 minutes gone, despite that good second half performance. If they Arsenal draw that game and Manchester City win, it's a different sort of title race look altogether.
It is, but the way in which it played out, I think, is going to be of enormous psychological benefit to Arsenal. Just the manner of that victory and the way in which City dropped points. I said to you guys off air before Monday's Champions League show that it felt to me like the kind of moment or the kind of day where you look back on in May and say that's the day Arsenal really started to believe their own hype that they could go on and win this title. And kind of the moment where you look back, or at least when I was watching their match unfold at Villa Park, I thought Arsenal are going to win the title this year because that's the kind of thing that goes in your favour. To have City drop points hours later just kind of crystallised that to view and will hugely galvanise the Arsenal players because it had been, I wouldn't say a tough time, but there'd been a few bumpy matches since the World Cup break, at least. And but look, there's a huge amount of football still to be played, a huge amount of points still to be earned. But I just think the manner of the performance in the second half, the way in which Arsenal bounced back, will have created just an enormous amount of self-belief. And they go into a King Power Stadium having already won 9 of their 12 Premier League away trips this season, which is an immense record. And it's not just an immense record; it's the grounds that they've won at. They've already won at Brighton, Brentford, Spurs, Chelsea, Palace, Wolves, and Leeds. Venues where you would say that's a potential banana skin. Arsenal have gone there and won. I think they can beat Leicester, a Leicester team they've beaten in each of the past 4 meetings. A Leicester side that have only won 3 times at the KP all season. Man City, Newcastle, and Fulham, all in the top 6, have gone to the KP and won. Leicester's only positive result against the top half came against Spurs a fortnight ago, when Tottenham fielded a bit of a ramshackle defence through injury and suspension. Leicester's record against the top half, if you exclude that game against Tottenham, they've taken 2 points and lost 12 games from 14 against the best teams in the division. So despite showing real intent and having many promising moments against Man United in the first half last week, David De Gea being outstanding between the sticks, they still lost that game 3-0. And Arsenal, I think, are expected to have Thomas Partey back in the squad this weekend, which is a huge boost. They're up against the second worst defence in the division. I see Arsenal scoring a couple of goals in this match, and if they do so, they should win the game. So I do like Arsenal's price at 175, but we can bolster the odds on offer by just adding over 1.5 goals. We get 2.06, just effectively ruling out the 1-0 away win, because Leicester do have threats. They do have players in the forward areas who can pack a real punch. We've seen that. We've talked about it in recent weeks. The front 4, now that they're fit and available, with Maddison playing behind Iheanacho and Barnes playing wondrously well from the wings as well, they will cause Arsenal problems. An Arsenal team whose defensive numbers have slowed a little bit since the World Cup break. They've failed to keep a clean sheet in 5, and if you look at the underlying metrics, they have regressed a little bit. This is the first half of the campaign they were exceptional, so they will give you an opportunity too. But I just think if it was gets into a bit of a shootout, Arsenal should be capable of coming through. So if you want to be bolder, I did highlight the 3.45 on Arsenal to win and both teams scoring. But I'm going to play it slightly safer and take the over 1.5 goals angle and be pro Arsenal.
Okay, yeah, over even money, Arsenal over 1.5 goals, 2.06. And Adrian, Mark outlined the stats post World Cup on Arsenal's defence. I think even on the eye test, you could see Arsenal's defence over the last few weeks just hasn't been the same.
No, completely agree. Yeah, no, the numbers will tell you, but yeah, looking at the team's performances, it's clear that they're not defending as well. A lot of chances, obviously, gifted to Aston Villa last weekend. The 2 goals were really poorly defended, and it needed a brilliant save from Aaron Ramsdale. I think it was in the 82nd minute from Leon Bailey to keep the score at 2-2. And then what happened. Arsenal fully deserved that win. It was a brilliant second half display. but defensively slightly concerning. And you can probably go back a few weeks now and say that they're not quite at it. And that's a slight concern to me ahead of this game, because Leicester's front four are clicking brilliantly, aren't they? Before that blank at Old Trafford, they'd scored 8 goals in their previous 2 games. It's a new look configuration. I expect him to stick with it, with Iheanacho up top, Tete, Maddison and Barnes in behind. And they created loads of good chances at Old Trafford, didn't they? Needed 2 worldies from David De Gea to keep them out, and then decisions went against them. That's Sabitzer one. That was a clear red, wasn't it? It was a ridiculous decision. So yeah, the run of the ball didn't go their way in the game. I think they're dangerous here. I hope Mark's right. I'm confident, and I do think that win at Villa will have galvanised the team and given them even more belief. But because of the defensive instability at the moment, I'm not going to back Arsenal here. I'm just going to back goals. I just expect it to be there to be plenty of them. So there's 2 selections I wanted to flag. Over 2 3/4 goals at 1.91. I think you can easily make a case for 3 goals or more in the game. Leicester in 14 matches against top 11 sides this season, Leicester haven't kept a single clean sheet. So you would expect Arsenal to score. And based on what Mark's just said, you wouldn't expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet necessarily either. Then you just need one more either way for this bet to land. Another one that I wanted to promote was first half goals, because these are 2 really fast starting sides. We saw it with Leicester last week at Old Trafford. How many shots did they have in that first half? It was a lot, well into double figures, wasn't it? Leicester actually ranked 2nd in the Premier League for first half goals. They've scored 23 of them. Arsenal ranked 3rd. They've scored 21 first half goals. I think both teams are going to come out with an attacking mentality, trying to score goals from the off. And I do think it could be a bit of a shootout. So if you think about it, 44 goals between them in 23 games. It's an average of pretty much 2 a game. You can get over 1.5 first half goals at a nice little price, 2.44. So if you fancy 2 goals or more before the break, that's a good deal, I think.
Okay, yeah, a couple of selections for Adrian. I particularly like that over first half goals at around close to 6-4, around 2.44, over 1.5 first half goals. And we will lock in Mark's game pick here. It's Arsenal and over 1.5 goals at over even money 2.06. And he did give a good shout out to Arsenal and both teams to score. Yes, so do check that out. Particularly those sort of in different markets, the match result, total goals, or the match result, both teams to score. Invariably, Matchbook will be best price in the odds checker grid throughout the week, but in particular that hour or 2 before kickoff when the markets get more liquid. So do check out the Matchbook betting exchange.